Welcome to Table Talk, the place for deep conversations in the Geekverse. And trust me, when we tear into a subject, we go deep. I'm Heath, and I'll be your host. Each episode, I'll be talking with one or more creators, authors, illustrators, publishers, or other movers and shakers in games, TV, books, movies, or other areas of the Geekverse. Regular guests include Douglas A. Burton, the author of Faraway Bird, a multi-award-winning historical fiction novel of the Byzantine Empress Theodora. He's also the author of The Heroine's Labyrinth, an alternative story structure to the hero's journey that often occurs in stories with feminine heroes. That structural framework frequently comes up in our analysis of story. Brianna De Silva, she's the director and co-writer of The Cultists, a Lovecraftian comedy mockumentary-style web show here on YouTube, and the author of The City of Reckoning, an epic fantasy novel of political intrigue, the ethics of war, and young love. Cameron Pasha is a screenwriter, director, novelist, and was a writer and producer on the series Kings, a producer on NBC's Bionic Woman, and a co-producer and writer for Sleeper Cell. He's also written for the CW series Nikita and Roswell, New Mexico. He's been breaking news from inside Lucasfilm, Disney, and Hollywood. His analysis and commentary have become very popular on YouTube. We regularly meet to discuss and analyze stories, and when we do, we dive into graduate-level seminars on story structure and writing. Come on in and let's go deep. And when I say we're going deep, I mean you'd better bring your hard suit. Other guests have included Lou Anders, the author of the Thrones and Bones fantasy novels, Once Upon a Unicorn, the creator and publisher of the Norengard RPG, and the author of Star Wars, A Pirate's Price, the book that explains why the Millennium Falcon is on the planet Batu at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Mark Tassin, the creator of the World of Ataltis, head of Mechanical Muse, former director of the Gen Con Writers Symposium, and the head developer of the new Cool Name RPG. Let's see, who else?
Bond. James Bond.
Well, not James Bond. Not yet. Maybe soon, though. But I have interviewed Jamie Stegmaier, the founder of Stonemaier Games, crowdfunder extraordinaire, and publisher of many hit board games like Scythe and Wingspan. Brian Colin, sculptor of the world of Revelo, Monster Busts, and the creator of the vast, grim, dark horror RPG. Ajit George, the Dungeons & Dragons author. We talked about game writing, education, and his contribution to Van Richter's Guide to Ravenloft and the development of the Journeys to the Radiant Citadel.
I am Hela, Odin's firstborn, commander of the legions of Asgard, the rightful heir to the throne and the goddess of death.
Well, actually, that interview got rather spicy, so I think I'd better just keep that one to myself. Kate Wilson, a YouTuber, actress, host, and prolific geek guru who's now working to make a new show dedicated to the world of tabletop gaming a reality. So buckle up and get ready for a wild ride, because it's time to explore the worlds of tabletop gaming, sci-fi, fantasy, and all of geekdom through the eyes of those who are making things happen.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger, ready to move out.
It's time for Table Talk. Hey everyone, welcome. It is so good to have you tonight. Welcome to my home, welcome to the office, welcome to Table Talk. We've got a very special show tonight because we are going to be talking to Retro Nerd Girl, who a lot of people have asked to be back on the show. She's very popular here on the stream, a frequent guest, but you know what? We've never been able to actually talk with her one-on-one. She jumped on the show. She's been on Dinner and a Board Game. Then she came in and talked about Star Wars, Ahsoka, and Terminator, often with Doug and with other people. So she was kind of thrown into the fire here. So now we're finally getting to go back and talk with her one-on-one and get to know her. So everyone, please welcome Retro Nerd Girl.
Hi. Hello, friends.
Hello. It is fantastic to see you. Hold on, I've got something going on down here. Okay, there we go.
So happy that you've invited me to come back, and this is great.
Well, everyone enjoys having you on the stream. It seems like you're a very popular guest. So I see lots of people saying hi.
Hello, Sable Phoenix, BGD. How you guys doing?
Yes.
Tomcat.
Yes. Welcome, everybody. It's great. It's great to have everybody in the chat with us tonight. So, Retro, well, first of all, I'll bring up your YouTube channel. If you don't know, and you should, Retro Nerd Girl is known for her YouTube channel, Retro Nerd Girl, right here. So I'm going to copy this and put the link right here. If you're not subscribed, Retro Nerd Girl right here. But do you want to introduce yourself and tell everybody about your channel and why they should come, what's on it?
Sure, yes. Well, I basically cover a lot of retro movies, and I really try to stick to all the movies I really love. I do, or I feel like a movie that I think people are not appreciating as much as I am. Like, hey, guys, take a look at this movie. So there are quite a few movies that I'll review that I deeply love, and there's a long list of them. So I'm nowhere near finished. I've been also just starting to do live streams. It just has been a year, which is really nice. I'm loving it so far, which is giving me the opportunity to talk about current events, and also giving me the opportunity to go and do some deep dives on subject matters I think are associated with film and TV that we can kind of nestle into some nostalgia with, and it's been a lot of fun. Like right now, I'm tomorrow I'll be doing a stream about 1984 because it's been 40 years. So that's actually going to be a lot of fun for me. So I hope it's going to be entertaining. And what else? Watch parties. I've been doing a lot of watch parties lately too, for some really old movies. Some of them classics. Like I just did a Casablanca, which was surprised me because I didn't realize that I didn't quite see all of it. And it was just, I cried about 4 times. It was so enjoyable and just wonderful. And this week coming up, I'll be doing Groundhog Day. That's one of my favorite movies.
Oh. Also very timely, right? That's
yes,
very, timely, very seasonal.
yes.
So okay, and then also you also are over on Twitter as well. So Twitter or X. So I'm going to put in the comments everybody as well. Retro on Twitter /X right here. You get out there and mix it up with people.
Yeah. I mean, I think mostly there. I don't really get too into the dramas and things like that are going on there. I try to sculpt my viewing abilities on X, because sometimes it could get really toxic. But what I try to do is stay out of it, and also just garner all the things I do want from it. And I've been using it lately for my Wednesday morning show, where I get news articles from it about the industry, and so that's been helping. It's been kind of helping. I'm not the biggest fan of Twitter, but I use it as a necessity because it seems to be working in my favor.
All right. Well, all right. That is how we find Retro Nerd Girl. I'll put out just for the moment as well that, hey, please do come over and check out my show, which is on another channel. Brianna De Silva, who is also a frequent guest on the show. She and I created The Cultists. I produced it. She directed it. We both co-wrote it. This is our show about modern day Lovecraftian cultists who just want to worship Cthulhu in a world full of people who don't understand. And we got 3 episodes right now up on the channel, but we're going to be re-releasing it. We're going to do probably like some, the premieres and then discussion of the episodes as they come out. I'm going to get a schedule to that schedule for that probably next month. And we're also going to be making some games for it as well on Heath's Geekverse channel, and then bringing those out as some kind of crowdfunding campaign. So that's what's going on over here with me.
I absolutely love this show. It was so great. I'm actually trying to take notes for when I get to, do my creation things that I'm working on secretly.
Okay. Well, all right. So first of all, let's start then with who you are.
Douglas.
Look, yeah, Doug's in the chat. Tommy McCrat says what streaming service? I think this is for the watch parties.
Oh yeah, for the watch parties, it's basically you have your copy, I have my copy, we watch it together, and I have a timer with me so you can match it up. I know we're just not yet there at the level where we can actually show the content, but crossing my fingers, I can have more ability in the future.
Okay, well, let's start with who you are and what brought you to YouTube, your YouTube streaming, and in fandom, and so forth.
Well, I think ever since YouTube was created, I've always wanted to be on the platform, and I've had other channels that I played around, experimented with, I guess you could say, and I've done a few short films and things on those other channels that that were okay, but I didn't find like a groove of something that I really wanted to continue on, uh, doing. And so I had some ideas of putting together a show, and I was also subscribed to a lot of movie channels, a lot of channels about talking about movies, talking about new movies, old movies, and all those channels. There was something in common, I believe, at the time. They were doing a lot of parody, or they were doing a lot of comedic um, critique, and it was more of I just felt like, wow, a lot of these movies that they're talking about, I think I could chime in and offer some good reason why these movies are really actually cool. And I saw a lot of people, just I wanted to help, in the situation, and I saw there was a need, and so. See a need, fill a need, and so I did start to put together and craft like a little channel that I thought maybe people would like. I start to go into criticism and what criticism is, and also how I would break down the reason why I love certain stories. And I started out with my first two. Before we get to that, there was a movie called Pluto Nash, and that movie, I was contemplating, should I watch this movie? But it was going to cost me $17 to get a copy. And everywhere I turned, everyone said how horrible this movie was. And I was like, I don't know. This sounds really like this movie might be just right up my alley. And so I did end up purchasing the movie, and I ended up liking it so very much. And I was like, you know what? I've got to now make this channel, because I feel like my point of view wasn't represented, and I felt like I could actually help people find some enjoyment in some of the movies that they think are not so great. So that was sort of the biggest catalyst right there. And I started out with The Day the Earth Stood Still and Masters of the Universe, and that was like sort of the kind of the push that I needed to actually get started.
Well, movies and TV have been very important in your life,
Hmm.
right? And so that's
Yes,
maybe one
yes.
of the reasons why you do that. So, can you speak to that? Like, what was the role? What makes you love movies so much, and what was their role?
I'm so glad you asked me that question. The reason why I really love movies so very much is because that was really something I connected with my mom with. It starts off really kind of weird. My mom and I, we were kind of separated for a while. I was taken away to another country, and then I was brought back. Finally, she got me back, and I when we came back, the first movie we saw was Star Wars 1977, and it was so good. It was wonderful, and there was so much hoopla around it, so it really had a big impression on me. I'd seen other movies before that, but my mom and I really bonded over that movie and quite a few other movies. She would always take me to see a movie that was out, and that was something we really had a strong bond over. And so I think that is really what fueled my love of movies. My mom introduced me to a lot of movies that were older movies, black and white movies. She told me about her love of those movies, and when I watched them, I felt very similar. And so, yeah, there is I think based on my connection to my mom, that's one of the reasons why I really love uh, movies and television as well. We sat down and we enjoyed things like Dynasty and shows that were on television really were I think at the time really the window to the rest of the world for me in particular. I'm sure for other people as well, because we didn't have the interconnective things that we have today as far as technology. You came home from school, it was a dark room. There wasn't a whole lot of things going on. Maybe you had some books, right? You had a few books. Maybe you could go to the library. Maybe you could go to the park, but there wasn't this like inundation of all of these other things. So you had to, when you did see a movie or a TV show, it was like, oh, that's what what other things are like. So I think that's the reason why I really love TV and movies.
Yeah, I was talking to my brother about the different experience that we had with movies and TV that the nephews today just do not have. Like with an online, the streaming services, like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
they have access to everything. Like
Yes.
everything you want to watch. They never watch anything twice. Whereas one, if it was on TV, you had to be there. Or we had VHS tapes, a lot of which had been taped from TV. And
yeah.
you had the drawer there, and that's all you had. I mean, you rented movies sometimes too,
Yeah.
but you watched the same thing a lot because once you had like this is what you have, so this is what you have to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, do you want to watch Empire Strikes Back again? Yes. That was me and my mom. We were like, what are we doing this weekend? We want to watch Empire Strikes Back again. And that tape got worn out. I mean, but we did that. There were things on television. We had the reruns of the things from the 60s, and that was also pretty cool. So we got to know what came before as well. So that was really, I would say, a great time. And it was also a chance to be normal. Like, so no matter what was going on, like say financially or situation wise, there was always, you have a movie to escape to, or you have a TV show to escape to as well. So yeah, definitely have some fond movies or memories of watching and going to see certain movies, and even just going, rushing home from school to go see your favorite TV show or TV cartoon, like Voltron. That was like one of my favorite ones to rush home to, is Voltron and Masters of the Universe. Those are my main two ones. And G.I. Joe, yeah, to
My
G.I.
brother was
Joe.
big into G.I. Joe. We watched that one too.
Yeah, G.I. Joe. Yeah, those were my favorites.
The we're talking about recording different shows and things like that. He-Man and Masters of the Universe, I watched all the time. The cartoon, I watched all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But a few years ago, of course, then when you've got, I think it was on Netflix or whatever it was on, it's like, oh, look, the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe several years ago. And I discovered a whole lot of episodes that I had never seen. And I guess that's because I watched the ones that were, you didn't catch them all live. And then I watched the ones that I had recorded over and over again. So those I knew very well. But it was neat several years ago to come back to that. And I've done that with actually a few different shows. Like, oh, whoa, there was a lot more of this than I knew.
Yeah. I mean, also, I think for a lot of shows, you get into it for a certain year or a certain season. And then, like, for me, it's always like the first season. And then after that, it's like a blur. But usually the first season of anything, I'm it usually has the most viewers. But yeah, Masters of the Universe was so epic. I actually got into that because there was a cartoon before that that was done in a very similar style. It was Flash Gordon, and I believe it was in 1979 that came out. And it has they basically took the same model from that show and just sort of duplicated for the Masters of the Universe, which is like the same rotoscoping movements that were done with these bodybuilders that they had to perform the movements. And just I remember looking at the ladies on the show and how curvy they were. I was like, wow, this was pretty awesome. I love the drawing style of everything. So that was really like my introduction was that show. And then when I finally saw He-Man, I was like, oh, this is the same style. I love this style. And of course, I also loved the stories too. The stories were really good. And even if they kind of had this corny aspect to some of the anecdotes for the stories, I didn't mind. I thought that they were cute, and I like them a lot. I like the corniness of it.
Well, Sable Phoenix has a question here for $5.
Oh
Hey, Retro Nerd Girl. It sounds like you were drawn to shows that were typically thought of as boys' entertainment. As a
yeah.
woman, why was it appealing to you? That's a
good I don't know. I guess I do have. Oh wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, I did love all the stuff boys liked. I didn't so much like sports and stuff like that, but for some reason I liked all the entertainment. So I don't know what the reason is. It just happened that way.
Do you have brothers and sisters? Did you watch?
No.
No. Okay.
Well, I do have a brother, but he didn't come along until a lot later. I was like 12. And so, yeah, he wasn't interested in. I mean, he did have things he was interested in, and maybe he might be interested in these things, but I'm not sure. Yeah, we didn't get to bond with that stuff. So, yeah, it was just me. I loved science fiction. It science fiction, action movies. Those were sort of the things that were ingrained in my mind. And I did see as a very young, like almost baby, saw Jaws for the first time in theaters, and that was like such an amazing moment for me too as a kid. I wasn't afraid. I was fascinated. So to me, films and TV was a means of escape, and you can't escaping to a fantasy world or science fiction world is no better escape. Like, it's totally different from our world as we have it now.
Well, you said you had done some filmmaking yourself.
Yeah.
That means you fit in very well with the idea of being people who not only critique and review things, but are actually actively involved in trying to make stuff too. So how did that come about?
Yes. I mean, I am trying to make. I have a few projects I'm working on, and it's been years, but I'm taking my time to do these things. I was never trained. I never went to film school, but it is something I'm really fascinated by. And I did the short movies or short films that I did were experimental. They were to test out the camera, to fool around with sound and editing. It was a lot of fun for me. So I really want to do more of that, more experimental films.
Well, had you thought about doing that professionally, or had you ever thought about going into film or TV because of your love of it as a child?
No, actually, I have a fond for the business, but I'm not necessarily wanting to jump into that because I do know it is trial by fire kind of thing. It's hard work. Not that I'm afraid of hard work, but it is, you do need training and skill, and it is, it isn't as easy as it may look. And so that me doing my little movies independently just was a safe space to practice, if you will. But it wasn't something I was like, oh, let's go and take this up as a career. I did at one point, and this is ages ago, wanted to do costume designing, and I did put together costumes for a play, and that was also that wasn't really the best experience that I had, but it was just to test things out and how I felt about things.
Uh, all right. Well, should we get into the movie, I guess? Well, Retro Nerd Girl, I mean, Sable has a question here.
Okay.
So your answer to this question may help me understand. Have you ever seen the short film Wanderers by Eric Wernquist and narrated by Carl Sagan?
No, I haven't. I would love to.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I would love to.
Well, are there other things that we should know about you, Retro Nerd Girl? Before we...
Yeah. Well, okay. What else should you know? I love movies. I love movies, and I am actually, in order to make my own little. I am trying to make a story. There's two stories that I want to do that are basically going to be done with action figures, and yes, it's going to be sort of like the best description I could think of is sort of like a robot chicken type of thing. And I wanted to learn about how the art of movies, and I also wanted to know why certain movies really appeal to us. Like, why do I really love the Terminator, and why does so many other people like that movie as well, and what is it about a movie or a story that really captures your attention and your heart and your mind, and make you cry and make you concerned for the characters. So these are things I'm exploring and sort of dissecting in my own way. And that's one of the things that I was attracted to your channel, is how much you go into story, because that is so important. And enjoying everything, and even our commercials that we watch, they seem like it's just going to be a few moments, but the ones with stories really capture us. And so the art of making stories is something I'm really fascinated by, and I really kind of want to learn how to do that.
Well, yes, that's we've been on this like seemingly over here 18-month long. I think it's been about 18 months, like deep dive into trying to figure out story structure and why things work and why things don't on this really on the fundamental structural level. Then there's also the actual are the words themselves any good? But at first we had gotten into the structure in a major way. So yes,
Oh, I love it. I've been absolutely enjoying every minute of it, actually. So yeah.
Oh my God, Sable asked about. Have you seen Secondhand Lions?
No, what are these things?
Oh no, actually, Secondhand Lions is really good. I that movie crosses my mind periodically, because that one is, I think, the ultimate family movie.
Ooh.
Because to me, that's a very it's got Michael Caine in it, and also Haley Joel Osment from the this is it right here. Robert Duvall.
Okay.
This one is a very like I said, the ultimate family movie, and that's a difficult category for me. Like a category of to me, it's very difficult to get family film right, because oftentimes when you talk about a family film, it's most of the time something that the kids would like to watch and the adults will tolerate.
Yes.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
that's a family film. We can all watch it together. It's not so childish that, okay, the adults are going to sit through it. But so the number of films that I have on my list that I actually call a family film is rather small. But this one, to me, is like the perfect family film that everyone would actually like to watch. Why did,
Okay.
what did that, what caused that one? Actually, Sable did me think of that one. Because, I don't even know why I originally watched it, because I think that it's not one that's well known, but was so well done.
Oh, okay. It's on my list. It's on my list. And I got to put that other movie on there as well. The Wanderers. Actually, is that short film Wanderers by Eric Wernquist. Okay. I shall put these all on my list to watch.
All right. Well, so we decided that not only would we get to know you like we did do an interview here, but we might as well also talk about a movie while we're here. And so we had a list of stuff that we could talk about. So we decided to do Masters of the Universe, because I think she had mentioned, I knew that she does have a review of Masters of the Universe on her channel. So if you go over to let me take this down.
It's a bit primitive, but it is I have newer thoughts about that movie, and I'm probably going to do an update soon.
Okay, so but Masters of the Universe, I believe 1987, He-Man's coming to the big screen.
Yes.
What was your relationship with the movie at the time, and what is it now?
You mean before it came out?
Well,
or hearing that it was going to come out.
Hearing it was coming out, this was a big thing at the time. What was your relationship with it? And
just pure excitement. Just pure excitement. Okay. I just really loved. Well, there was a couple of things. One, I loved the promo for the movie. It was really, they had that exciting music along with it. It had Dolph Lundgren, who I was in love with, and also Frank Langella, who I was also in love with. And there was Meg, what's her last name? Meg Foster in it, who I've also loved. And so it was just like, what is going on here? I love all of these things. This is wonderful. And of course, being such a big fan of the show, I just had to, I had to figure out any way I could go. I don't think my mom went with me this time. I think I went by myself. So I had to earn the money to go to the movie theaters to see that one on my own. I was purely excited about it. What about you?
I remember it coming out, and of course, I was a huge He-Man fan with all of the TV show and the action figures. And actually, Doug's asking, did you play with action figures?
I had always wanted them, but we couldn't really afford a whole lot. As far as toys went, I didn't have very many toys. Which now I have so many.
now we've got. Yeah, I've got some of these new ones actually show up over here, because I've got different He-Man action figures back here. As a kid, I had a bunch of them, and so for background stuff, people see the He-Man behind me and stuff like that. So I was big into that. I think I was a bit young to really understand. I remember being in the car in the back seat, and my mom and dad said that I had two choices. I don't know why it was like right there. We could go watch the He-Man movie, or we could go pick up a Dragon Walker, the Dragon Walker toy from He-Man. That was the one that slid, and then it would slide around, and then He-Man would slide forward again. It was this Dragon Walker vehicle.
Yeah.
I don't know. You remember that one? I think it did.
I think I do remember that one. What? So they made you choose?
Yeah, they were. So yeah, this
is so cruel.
Yeah, because I really wanted. There were a couple of
yes,
toys
I've seen this one. Yeah,
that I always wanted that I never got. So I remember. So they made me choose. I could go see He-Man, or I could go get a Dragon Walker. And well, I never got the Dragon Walker.
Oh no.
But so I went to see. We went to see the movie.
Cool.
And I'm wondering what I would like to know what my parents thought about that after we'd actually gone, because I don't
Oh,
know if they were what they were. I mean, if they were actually expecting it to be what it is, because it's a very unusual He-Man story, and which we'll talk about in a moment. That it's probably not what you were expecting, and it may not have been what you wanted.
yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
people, but so I,
Hmm.
I actually wonder that. I was like, well, okay, they did take me, and then like, what did they think that? Okay, what did we just go watch? Like,
They were
maybe.
like, okay, whatever.
So, so I remember that experience, but I don't really remember actually like being in the theater when we were watching and stuff. And but then later I do remember, because this was back when there was a long stretch between the theater and before it would like come out on TV.
Yeah.
One of my uncles had, it may have been on Cinemax or
Okay.
something. It was going to come on TV, either HBO or Cinemax or something. And my uncle asked if we had that station, and mother said that we didn't. And so he said, all right, I'll tape him. And so I had a tape of it because he taped it for me whenever it
Aw.
came on TV. And I remember getting it, and then I watched it a lot.
Yeah, I taped it as well. We could afford some videotape, so I taped them and played it over and over again. Yeah, that was one of the that was one I played a lot. Yeah.
uh, so, I mean, a lot of people, well, like as I was watching this, I rewatched it this afternoon, and
Yeah.
there's sweet moments to it, and I suppose that you are that I forgive it some because of, like, okay, there is some really sweet touching stuff between but this this was a weird thing, I think, to do with He-Man. They really needed this
Yes.
movie to be big, and it wasn't. And
Yeah.
there were budgetary issues. Of
Yes.
course, this was also back when doing toys was not big. Like, the He-Man movie came out, the Batman original Batman movie, that was a big cultural phenomenon. And that was like, okay, and they did that right.
Yes.
This movie kind of reminds me in some ways, with the darker tone, of like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, the original
Oh,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was done much better. But I kind of wish that, like, man, all of the goodness that was the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
yeah.
I wish they had been able to make I wish they had been able to make He-Man this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were a few things that they couldn't do. It's because of the studio that was running it. It was Canon Studios. Unfortunately, they went under a few years after, but it is they really did not have the money to pull this entire thing off. But looking at it today, would you say like some of the visuals, I think it holds up pretty good, right? Visually, like just kind of it holds up like decent.
Yeah, but I was looking at it this time especially because I think it's been a little while since I've seen it all the way through, and I was like, well, this is very 80s. It's very 80s. I think you can tell.
Yes.
It looks like, I mean, no, in some cases, like it looks like, hey, we could put together these costumes. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely think that they lost a lot of the magic of what the cartoons brought to the costuming and the color, sort of the bigness of what Eternia is. And so I guess to mitigate the fact that they didn't have enough money, they just put everything on planet Earth, brought everybody to planet Earth, but it doesn't have the showmanship of the show, doesn't really match it very much. And I think uh, that was sort of a mistake, but also there was no way they were going to be able to afford to do that with the budget that they had. No way.
yeah,
So
to me, this is one of those crimes, those film crimes that, like we talked about, like bad time travel, bad
yes,
time travel stories that
yes,
are often the case. This one's kind of one of those sins of send your favorite heroes to Earth. That,
yes,
I want to see He-Man on
yes,
Eternia
yeah,
doing He-Man things there. And then when you get word that one of your favorite movies or favorite characters, and they're going to be coming to Earth, it's always like,
Like,
oh
ah.
no.
So it's gonna, and I think the whole thing was like, oh, he's gonna be like able to meet one of you guys, you know. It's like, nah, that doesn't quite work because we want that fantasy of Eternia, and there were so many stories that they had in the show that were less than 30 minutes, and they pulled off, but for some reason in the movie they could not really connect all the dots and really develop even He-Man. Adam is not even in the story.
Adam is not even in this. I mean, it's one of those things that we were talking about, and we're actually going to continue to talk about on this channel, like responsibilities. If you're in charge of a franchise, what are your responsibilities? Now, I realize the people making this movie, and this movie, I mean, any movie, but this movie in particular, had a lot of people to answer to and not a lot of budget. So it's like, okay, we got to do He-Man, we got to do this fantastic thing, and we basically have no budget. And so that's why we got to be at a fast food restaurant someplace on Earth in this movie.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I love, I mean, some of the costuming and stuff. I had to get these action figures.
Oh, cool. Nice.
I got them maybe a couple of years ago. I didn't know they ever existed.
That's really nice.
Until I just happened to see them, and then I was like, oh, I do have to have them.
Yeah, that's really cool. The Skeletor, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, this Skeletor is fantastic.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
this would have been my Skeletor. I love Frank Langala's Skeletor.
Oh, yes. Me too. Me too.
And so actually, I got this basically in honor of him. I was like, oh,
that is
because
wonderful.
he did so fantastic. But then I was like, well, if you have Skeletor, you got to have He-Man. And so I got the He-Man as well.
Looks pretty cool too.
Yeah, he does. He does. It's a great figure. And I know that if I had this one as a kid, oh man, it would have been all over. I mean, this would have been my He-Man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
I mean, they did make, you know, I suppose they did have a serious problem with He-Man's hair. It's really one of those weird things. He had like a mullet or something, and I was like, what is happening?
Well, he doesn't have great hair in the cartoons.
No,
so they were like, okay, we can't put him in this hair. So he got an 80s mullet.
Yeah. I didn't mind it too much. And they do keep him like in Vaseline and dirt throughout the entire movie. It's just kind of everybody, like all the Eternians are covered in Vaseline and dirt. So I was like, at least they're trying to create this sort of almost looking like an apocalyptic world, heroes that are, or I would call them more like soldiers. That's what they felt, more like soldiers. And I even would have loved a little bit of story on a little bit of story on He-Man and why he's doing what he's doing a little bit. And we were missing all of that. I think it was almost like, yeah, we did all of the setup in the cartoon, and now we're just going to go off with the story and focus in on the humans, the Earthlings in the story. So it was really it works for me because I just wanted to see the live action version. But I think for anyone who really who's got a little bit more who's a little bit more judgmental, I think this did not work. They did not accomplish the goal. They failed the assignment.
That we were getting some Gwildor hate over here. But
yeah,
I think when I was thinking about responsibility, it is like, okay, if we were going to assigned to make a He-Man movie, like I'd start by writing down, okay, what is it that people are going to want to see in this movie?
Yes. Why do we love He-Man? What is the big deal? What do we like about what is it that we love about the series in general? And for me, it has always been about those sappy stuff, like He-Man's, or Adam. Adam is really the main character. His responsibility to be He-Man, and he's protecting all the lives of people in Eternia. That seemed to be thrown right out of the window. We get sort of this search for the cosmic key, which is I like the cosmic key, and it was a great idea. Uh, However, I felt like we could have. I wanted more characters involvement in the story, and that I think what we like about He-Man is He-Man.
Right. Yeah. Like He-Man, because he's not even necessarily the main character in this.
Oh yeah,
But
no, not in this at all.
I would I've written down things like we need to show a He-Man transformation.
Yes.
You know,
Thank you. That's like the
what would you
intro.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The intro to the TV show has a transformation right in it. You needed that. You needed that.
That's a core part of every episode. I mean, every
Yes.
episode at some point, Prince Adam turns into He-Man.
Yes.
I would have put that in the movie, but then you're going to end up with things like, okay, Orko, people are talking about, and then
Orko.
Battle Cat. You want Battle Cat in there, and then I know a lot of these things are getting struck. Like once you make the list, then there's a budget thing. At this
Yeah.
time, it's like,
They
okay,
could not. Yeah, they
large
could.
green cat not happening, Orko
Yeah.
not happening. So I know that a lot of those things got struck for that reason,
Yeah.
but other things, it feels like you still could have done something with. Like,
Yeah.
why is the sorceress crystalline instead of Falcon and feathered?
I
I mean,
Yeah.
I understand character
Yeah.
redesigns, but
Yeah.
I like the redesigns. We're just looking
I
for
I
redesigns.
like yeah, I'm with you. I like the way she looks, but I was expecting more from the sorceress. I wanted her to put up a fight at least. Would have been very, very nice to see her power set, and that, indeed, Skeletor was the victor. I want to see Skeletor earn it. I wouldn't even mind that whole backstory with Eveline tricking Wildor into giving her the cosmic key. Like if we had seen that would be another little piece of story with character development. Uh, those are things that are most necessary for us to feel empathy for characters. What I'm noticing in my studies of all of these movies is we got to learn about the characters, and if we don't even need a whole like backstory thing, we mostly need to see, them actually perform their, what's emotionally important to them.
I completely agree with the sorceress. I was especially aware of that this last watch through, is that she really does nothing throughout that whole movie.
No, she's just standing there like, yes.
The actress just had to stand there
Yeah.
the entire movie. So that had to be a disappointing role to write. Oh, I'm gonna be the sorceress, and you just stand there.
I
Yeah.
know, like in the TV series, she's got her knees up, and she's like choo choo choo. I wanted to see that stuff. She gets in there, she mixes it up, and she has a lot of different power skills, and like you said, and we acknowledged this before. This is definitely budgetary. They did spend a lot of money on that throne room.
Right.
And I think that was well done, but they shot like every angle they could possibly shoot for that room. It was really more than we needed. More than we needed, to be honest. It would have been nice to have had seen the battle of Skeletor actually taking over Eternia. And we just get one little glimpse of it, and so.
Well,
I,
yeah, yes. When you think about start on action, because I was also aware of this,
Yeah.
because you start on action. Let's start then. It's interesting that they went with basically they didn't do an origin story, because today you would start with an origin story. That's
Yeah.
just He-Man's origin story. But here they went with basically the end. They were going to go with the climactic end, but battle between He-Man and Skeletor.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're going to start on action, man, we're going to open this with the assault, the storming of Castle Grayskull. That would have been with everybody in action. That would have been cool. And then you can realize that's like, okay, we don't have any money for that. So when we cut them, the Skeletor War just already have it. Okay, so we're gonna have to cut out battle. And instead, we get once again, I was watching this and this time it's like, this rather lame rescue of Gwildor. The starting on action is the rescue of Gwildor. And that really doesn't show off He-Man at his best either. I mean, it's just
no. Yeah, and I think one of the things, if you notice about that scene, is that they did not back the camera up enough for you to actually see what was going on.
Well, they did want like the close-up on his chest.
Yes, they wanted to. They wanted to get a close up of those muscles, but they were like, hey, we did cast the right guy for He-Man. That's what they wanted to tell us, but they did not give us a nice view of all of his skills as a fighter. We did get excellent moments of his blade, bouncing off pew pews, but we didn't get that moment where we're like, yeah, he's gonna save everybody. We didn't get that scene where it looks like he's actually capable of being a hero.
And he also doesn't have fantastic dialogue. They did not write good dialogue for He-Man anyway. He does not come off as any type of intellectual powerhouse or anything like that.
Yeah. There's nothing going on. I think it's very simple. They did the very least that they could possibly do. He's barely, he's in the scene and he just says a few lines and that's it. I wanted more for character. That's for sure.
With the throne room with William Stout, they call this, like, the action figures here, the Stout collection, because it was William Stout who was the production designer.
Oh,
and
okay.
was designing all of this. But he said that that with that throne room, that he had specifically designed it. I forget which behind the scenes thing I was watching. It may have been about the Power of Grace, the Power of Grayskull, the Netflix special. I love that. It's about the development of He-Man. It's fantastic.
I didn't see this.
Oh, it's if you have a chance to watch it, you really should watch it. Because it's all about how they develop the toys or starting with the development of the toys and goes through the whole arc of He-Man and what that time was like. And it really inspires me. But William Stout was talking about that throne room, and he said, I designed it to have sword fights in, that we needed a really great location for amazing sword fights.
Ah, nice. Okay.
They couldn't film the sword fights, so he put, because they came in, they actually stopped. They, being the studio, came in and actually stopped production because they were out of money.
Oh,
as they were shooting the final scenes and things, somebody walked in from the studio, put a clipboard over the camera lens, and said, "You're done."
Wow.
And so there was that too, and that's why. So they never even fought the battle between He-Man and Skeletor. You notice that it looks weird at the end of the He-Man and Skeletor. They're fighting in an alleyway. And that was because they only got to shoot some of that battle, where Skeletor's got this gigantic thing on his head,
I heard about this, yes.
But then they had to the director was able to get them and take them into an alleyway after they were shut down in order to get a few more shots for that battle. So it was supposed to be something really, really dramatic. I think Frank Langella was talking about they had slotted to spend a few days fighting that battle, shooting that battle, but the whole thing had to be shot in a few hours, and then that was it. So
yeah, I mean, I'm sure, as Frank Langella must have been like, what is going on here? This is really, he's a classy actor, and so to be having to shoot in some alley.
Well, yeah, I know.
Finish a movie. It's just sort of wild, but that unfortunately the studio that they were working with, that is, they were having some troubles for many years. So, that tracks, if you will.
Tom McCret says, definitely looks like it was an MTV movie at times. That is a great way to describe its look. I like that. An MTV video.
I think they were trying to appeal to a lot of, they thought that a lot of people were from that era of at the MTV days, and so yeah, it does look a lot like they were trying to appeal to.
I
Um,
I was also aware of that, because I loved Blade. Blade as a
oh
kid was one of my, and I still love Blade, but I
yes,
was aware of that this watch through, that Blade's costume is kind of like MTV video, or yeah, especially like when they're
like
they're in the chain link fences and they're fighting and stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah,
I loved
definitely.
Blade. He was one of my favorite additions to the.
I loved him, yeah, espe like, he only had a few words to say, and it was, I just clung to everything he did say, and also, he says in passing, oh, well, in the beginning, just about to face off with, He-Man, "I've been waiting for this for a very long time," and I was like, I want to know more about that. He's been training somewhere, waiting for his chance to face off with He-Man. And another thing I noticed was during that fight scene, he loses one of his blades and he says, "My blade." And I was like, "Oh, I'd never heard that before." I've watched the movie several times, but he loses that blade and it affects him enough for him to say, "My blade." And so, yeah, that's a little detail that I find adorable in the film. There are certain pieces, and I think Blade himself, it seemed like, the actor was giving it a lot more than what was put on page. So,
Yes, I think he was really wanted to really like this character and wanted
yeah,
was going
yeah.
all the way with this character. I think so. I remember the He-Man magazine.
Wow,
Uh,
there's a magazine?
there was a magazine. There was a magazine. There
Wow,
may not. I don't know how many issues there were. Oh, you know what? I've never actually looked up the He-Man magazine online.
this is
This
fantastic.
might actually tell me. Uh, but there was a He-Man magazine, and this is the experience of being a kid at in that time. Oh yeah, like okay, so for instance, I remember. Oh yeah, I remember that cover.
Wow, I had no idea.
I don't know how many of these things there were, but I would cut. Oh yeah, wait. Oh yeah. Oh man, hold on. Uh, Childhood's coming back to me all of a sudden. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause I remember these covers. Uh, right here.
Cool. I've never seen anything
I
like this.
wonder if these are collectors things now. They're probably out there on eBay. I don't know how many there
Oh.
were, and it's not like at the time, like I didn't go to comic books or comic stores or things like that as a kid. So I was only able to get them like at the grocery store. That was
Okay.
like one of the good things about going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
But I may have only had like three magazines or issues. There may not have been that many produced anyway. But
Yeah.
at least when we went grocery shopping, I was I went and looked through the entire magazine stack, the magazine rack, every magazine, just to make sure there wasn't a new He-Man magazine hiding someplace in here. Like I could do that, and if there was one, then I would get it. But but I remember that in one of those He-Man magazines
Yeah.
was a fold-out poster of He-Man and Blade fighting,
What?
and I had that up in my room.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. I love those 2 fighting. I wanted more of that, I really did. I would have definitely loved to have seen a part 2 just for that. Just for that, just for Blade and He-Man, fighting, and yeah, that was a really great moment in the film. Again, I think the way they shot it was a little bit too close up. They didn't really give you enough chance to see what was going on, but there was some really good moves going on there. Some great choreography happening for the short amount of time it was
It
on
was this
screen.
poster
Oh
right here.
yes,
It's
this. Okay, I've
small.
seen this poster. Yes, I've seen this
But
poster.
that was it. And of course, it's they're fighting in the throne room and stuff. But man, I thought this was cool. This
Yeah.
He-Man and Blade fighting right here.
Yes.
I thought that was the ultimate in cool.
I agree. I agree. I agree. Yes, I've seen that poster before. Yeah, definitely.
uh, there this movie we talked about, okay, one of the cardinal sins of, okay, we're going to start in our fantasy world. They're still just, and we're going to have to send them to Earth.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't have the budget and you couldn't do He-Man transformation stuff, there was still a way to write a story on Eternia that could have really done the characters well.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't production effects heavy. But we said, do we have the cardinal sin of, okay, they come to Earth? But this one also in some ways does the reverse as well. Because especially at the end, like when you end back on Earth with the teenagers, because that's also in things like, it's almost Peter Pan like that. You know, the way that story is told, you could have told it from the perspective of the teenagers and started basically the movie with the teenagers and then have them find this, and then, oh my God, He-Man and all of these people come.
Yes, I like that. That would have worked.
Well, you know, it could have, because that's the way the movie ends. That's the way the movie ends.
Yeah.
Because you had that like a Peter Pan and Wonderland feel. How soon in the production they know they're gonna have huge production problems? I don't know.
I think for this particular the company, Globus, Golan Globus, they were having financial trouble throughout all of their productions at about this time, and so they were borrowing money, paying money out, that kind of thing. It was so I think they thought they had enough money, and then they just didn't. I think it was very sudden, because it was like nobody knew that this was going to be a problem. So yeah, it was some kind of messed up business practices.
Blade had a sad end after Masters of the Universe. He became Damodar in Dungeons and Dragons, the movie from the 2000s.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, and I do, guys, guilty pleasure. I do like that movie.
The people, the actors in this movie. Of course, we've got Courtney Cox.
Yes.
Courtney Cox is a big draw in this movie. I mean,
yes.
It's bigger name than you might think.
Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren, of course. Franklin Gela. Courtney Cox is here. The guy from
Lubick.
Lubick. Yeah, Lubick from Top Gun. Token. Yeah. So he's in there.
Meg Foster.
Meg Foster is in there, but I had a hard time placing her as an actress for a long time.
Oh.
I thought for years and years that she was played by Denise Crosby, the actress who plays Tasha Yar in
interesting.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was looking, I thought that she was Tasha Yar.
Okay.
And then I realized that she's not. And they do look similar. So the makeup of Evelyn and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I thought that it was Tasha Yar for a long time. And then I thought that it was Meg Ryan. Another Top Gun tie-in, because not only did we get Lubick for the captain back, but no, it's not Meg Ryan, it's Meg Foster. So it took me a while to get her character down.
Yes.
But then the boyfriend, he returns quite a bit in science fiction and fantasy. Wait, what is his name?
I just went on to do some Star Trek.
Yeah, right, because he shows up later in Star Trek in the Next Generation, and then he's isn't he Paris? Tom Paris. Okay, yes, he's Tom. And then he comes back as Tom Paris.
Okay.
So, yeah, so he was in Voyager as well. So
yeah. Yep, there are a lot of big names in there.
Other things to be disappointed about, because there is a lot to be disappointed about. I want to talk about Skeletor specifically in a moment. And that's the high point. But I was disappointed with Teela.
Oh yeah. They tried to give her that one stinger, Woman at Arms, which I was like, that got a laugh out of me. But I just felt it was almost like they were trying to make it seem as if she and He-Man were a couple. And she gets jealous when he makes friend. He has the young girl there. She's like, I see you've been, you've been busy, or she gives him like a snide comment. Um, and when they meet for the first time, she gives him this really, really big super hug. So I don't know.
Yeah, but she needed to be done better, and Duncan too. Like James
Yeah.
says that Tila and Duncan both were kind of meh, and yeah,
Hmm.
I agree. But
Yeah.
Tila needed, I think, a different actress too. Well, of course, now we're talking about different designs. I think that she needed a different costume. Like let's just not
Yeah, the
redo
costume.
that costume.
Hmm.
Let's let's I also think get her better dialogue, get her
Hmm.
better parts of this movie, and
Hmm.
then let's also, I think, recast.
I think so. I mean, I she could have worked, but also the script was not very good to her. I mean, there wasn't much in the script to help her along. So it's really sad when yeah, there just wasn't anything there for her as an actress, and they, it's up to her to fight for it too. So who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, full agreement with you about Tila. She just didn't seem to have a lot going on, but maybe they should have just not have her in the story at all, because she was just accessory at some point. They were just standing around.
Uh, yes, I also don't think the actress knew how to use a gun.
Ooh.
So if you what I was picking up on this time as well, that she never holds a gun like
Mhm.
she knows how to use it.
Yeah.
She holds it out and like she shoots like this, like from her chest out. Even when she in the music store, when she jumps up, she doesn't
I
like
thought that was
like
weird.
it's always like this, and there's many different scenes when she
Yeah.
draws her gun and she just holds it out like this, out from her chest, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't even. That's why I was like, man, she needs. I don't know if it's the actress or the more directing. Like, okay, Tila,
It
you do not.
might
You're not conveying like you know what you think to do. You know
it
what you do.
m well, it might be directing, because there was another scene that was quite like that, and I was like, "Oh, if that was real, they would definitely be dead by now." And so, yeah, the in that particular scene that you're talking about with her shooting, it like technically makes no sense, because I guess to prove that she's a great shot, they have her do these 3 shots, and she's in the open pretty much. They have complete access to shoot her at any point, and so it doesn't feel like there's like she actually does know what she's doing. And then there's another time that Lubick does pretty much the same thing. And that is finally on Eternia, that last big fight, and he has the shotgun. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you can't shoot at me." And then he does, 3 rounds, but also he's in the open, and I'm like, "Wow, you're dead."
Yeah, this movie does suffer from a lot of different tropes like that. That first of all, we got the stormtroopers, the classic stormtroopers who can't do anything. They're in black here, but they're
Yes.
the stormtrooper
W-
marksmanship academy from Star Wars. It is on full display
Yeah.
in this movie. Skeletor's soldiers can't shoot anything.
Yeah.
Um,
They can't shoot anything, and they die easy, and they're all robots as well, to keep us from being traumatized, I suppose, that if they were real people.
well, that would have been another one of those things that I would have loved that I would have written down. Oh, because I got. Let me see. I had to get these right over here. Because I would have put like great things that I have to see in this movie. I would have put
Oh, these guys, how
the
cool are
robots
they?
exploding robots, but then I'm
Yeah.
sure from the budgetary perspective, they were going, okay, wait a minute, we can't have Orko and we can't have 200 flying robots either, so that would go. Yeah, this
Oh
was
man.
these actually got me back, or the reason that I collected. I don't collect a lot of He-Man toys or action figures, but actually the ones that I got, I actually started with these because I saw them for some reason, and I would have killed to have these as a kid
Oh,
because
me
they
too.
didn't make them. You know, there were no toys, there were no flying robot toys at the time,
Mhm.
but I loved them in the movie and the TV show
Yeah.
because that's when at least He-Man got to fight. I
Yes.
like to see when He-Man got to fight, and
Yes.
when he's fighting the flying robots, the hoverbot, they could smash things up. Even Battle Cat would hack them apart and things like that. And so when I saw that they existed, I had to get them, and that's why I actually
Oh,
got
those are so cool.
a few other things to go with it. But yeah, so I mean, maybe they would have had to redesign these. They look more threatening to go with the rest of the film here.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we get the black clad stormtroopers that can't hit anything, and the classic people don't know how to use shotguns uh, in movies. You know, they always talk about how, you know, when you pump the shotgun and eject the shell, and they're
Yeah.
like, people make fun of that on YouTube about, you know, how people use shotguns in the movie. This movie also suffers from that because
Yes, it's true like that.
Lubick will rack his shotgun right before he does something, and like he would know he's ejecting his shell right before he's about. So
Yeah, you're supposed to do that after. Now, and also like I don't know a whole bunch about like I'm not a weapons expert, but or a an actual fighter or anything. But I do watch a lot of movies and see where things like uh it would not make sense in real life. And I have um seeing what some of the experts have to say about some of these movies and they would definitely give this particular movie a bad score for weaponry and weapon handling and such. So yeah, it's definitely it's make believe and sometimes you can have fun with that.
uh so I was going to say that Sable did say that deep conversations in the Geekverse and Retro Nerd Girl. What's about these toys? And I think it was when we were holding up these that he was asking that so visually resonates with you even more so than the cartoon versions.
Oh well, oh go ahead, you go first.
Well, so for me, there were three different things as a kid. There were the toy. The toy line came first, and then you had the cartoon. I know Sable knows this, but you had the toy line that came first, and then you had the cartoon that was developed, and that meant that your toys didn't always look like the cartoon. In fact, that, you know, because there was the redesign for the cartoon, so that always bothered me as a kid that I had the He-Man toys, but then they didn't look like things in the cartoon.
Yeah.
So but that's just the way it was. There was the toy line and there was the cartoon. So those things were separate, and then there were no action figures, especially this good. There were no action figures this good about the movies. And I never had any of the movie action figures. I never had any of them. I think there were a few. I went back and looked up, like, what were the original release of action figures for the movies?
Mhm.
And you would expect that would have been a lot because they're like, okay, new character designs and stuff, and this movie's out. We got to push they really push out new toys, but they
Mhm.
really didn't. There were a couple of them. There was no like Dolph Lundgren He-Man, and so really my appeal of this one was that, oh, you know, at the time, regardless of how good the movie is or not, I just loved the look of, you know,
Mhm.
this is them on the big screen for the first time.
Yeah.
And so I know that if I had been able to have a toy that actually looked like what I was seeing on screen, because we had the mismatch between the toys and the cartoon. If I
Yeah.
had the movie
Mhm.
and then the actual toys from the movie, that would have been amazing. That's also why I briefly got into these, but that's why, because I always wanted the toys to look like they did in the cartoon when they
Oh,
re-released.
that's a
Uh,
nice one.
yeah, I know. James Bacon will know which
So
line this is
cool.
from. But these are fairly recent. I mean, a few years ago, released the line that makes these figures look like they did in the cartoon, and I was
Mm.
like, oh well, I guess I'm going to have to get those for nostalgia's sake, because this
Yeah.
is what I always would have loved to have had as a kid. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'd had these two figures as my He-Man and Skeletor as a kid, I mean, it would have been all over. It would
Yeah.
have been all over.
Yeah, I mean, I think it, I love nostalgia, and of course, this, I explained how much what it meant to me to see this TV show, and um a little bit more about that. I was bullied as a kid, and so a story like He-Man, who we have Adam, who's just I mean, Adam really just pretty much looks like He-Man with all those muscles, but he doesn't have the warrior mentality, or as and he doesn't have the super strength, if you will. And so to be able to like cast off your sword and get all the powers of the universe, and that helps you to battle bad guys, and that was something that a kid like me, I thought was really cool. um, I always imagine. I mean, I didn't imagine myself as a man, but I just imagined myself getting those powers. I have the power. I mean, it was just very addictive to watch that show and to see those stories. And I think even the voice actors seemed like they were having so much fun with it too. Like the Evelyn and Skeletor voice actors were just going all over the top, and they were just having so much fun with it. And Evelyn would just laugh uncontrollably. Sometimes she would just be like, ah. It was great and fun. And so just seeing those things as a kid, and now even still now today, I know that these things aren't intellectual, or they aren't like super um, there's not a whole lot going on there, um, as far as subtext or anything, but it does make me feel a certain way. It makes me feel like I'm 14 again. It makes me feel like a kid. And I still remember those really wonderful moments of watching a brand new episode, and how it made me feel. So even the toys reflect that. And now you can create your own stories. You can put your two favorite characters together in a fight, or you can put your two characters together in a moment of truce. You want you want peace throughout Eternia, and maybe you want Skeletor to work beside um, He-Man to create an ultimate society. That's possible when you have the toys. So I
Yeah,
love
I was just
play, in the sense of play.
James was saying power fantasies are for everyone. The
Yes.
the uh oh uh well, Sable says bullied too, huh? Now I get it. You are more intelligent or bookish than your peers, bigger vocabulary, couldn't understand the other children's simplicity.
Oh, hi, Unicorn Rampant Studio. So good to see you here.
Oh, welcome.
My Skeletor is a nice Skeletor. Yeah, I mean, you can do so many things with the actual figures that we probably would never see stories of, made of. So.
Uh I got I was looking around too.
Oh, there she is. She's
Yeah, I
great.
know. I'm not actually a giant toy collector. I know I've been putting all of these, showing off all these things here, but but I think it's from what you were talking about that it was complete nostalgia, and I want to do an action figure line of my own. And so when I saw these, I was like, oh, okay, I need to at least get some current ones to know what's going on in the world of action figures. And these were like, again, this Evelyn would have been fantastic.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. And she's so much more. I noticed, like, in this story, on for the film, Evelyn is not as incredible as she is in the story. I think everybody was just scaled down a lot more. And so I think it's really interesting. They did give her as much bling, and they tried to make her look very interesting. But I think the cartoon, I mean, she's got this huge headdress on, and she's got such a big personality, and really, she was one of the joys of watching the show was Evelyn and what she was what she was going to do next.
Evelyn was one of my favorite characters too. But I especially really like the early He-Man episodes.
Yes.
It got more cutesy as it went deeper into the second season, stuff like that. But the early first season episodes are my favorites.
Yeah.
And
Skeletor is a real threat in those.
That's right. I like it best when he is really evil. When he gets more comical, then it starts to lose it. But in the early ones, they play him straight.
Yeah.
And I think that's best. And I also, when Evelyn is best when she's played the same way. I mean, they just flat out, I just like that they call her Witch.
Yes.
Skeletor, like, what's your problem, Witch?
It kind of reminds me of Conan the Barbarian. That would be the kind of line, say a line they would say in that era, the Hyborian age. And there's so much in common too with Conan the Barbarian. But this is one of the reasons why I love the first season in particular, is how it really seemed like they were trying to go for something a little bit more serious. Yeah, he was really really silly in the last couple, especially as they were getting closer to Hordak coming into the picture, and it was just like, okay, I guess he's just a second man, or second in command man. But in those earlier days, he was really really a force to be reckoned with. And also Beastman was also a lot more, he was more of a man than Beast, if that makes sense, because
exactly.
And I think that's another thing they got wrong in this movie, was that Beastman was a hot mess. It was just hard to really even look at him, and also make sense of who. All he did was growl in the movie, but in those earlier episodes, he was actually, if I. It's been a while, but I think he was indebted, or there was some connection between him and Evelyn, and but it was also he was also more of he would actually warn of things to come, or he was actually had more agency during the first season than he did in later seasons. And later
he also
seasons
became more comical and
comical, and just a brute strength to show up.
Yeah, I remember even as a kid talking about, okay, we got Beast Man here, and in the cartoons he's more man, and they definitely just went flat out Beast.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Yeah.
We're just going Beast here.
Yeah, he just growls. I don't think he even says a word. He's just like, and
Well,
drools.
when he goes to beg for Skeletor, it's because he's got in some of the early ones, he's got a different role. That he's almost like butler isn't the right word, but he's definitely like the servant who's running things at Snake Mountain. And sometimes I noticed that he wouldn't even sit down at the table in the early episode, when they're all sitting around Skeletor's table. Beast Merman would sit down, and Trapjaw would sit down, which, by the way, you would put Trapjaw in the movie. I understand, Merman, but probably, I mean, you would start with all these different ideas, but Beastman sometimes would not be sitting down at the table. He didn't start sitting down until later. So he was he had some kind of lower status and station or something as in earlier. Do you remember, while we're talking on the subject of the TV shows, I did actually do a review of like 15 He-Man episodes that I need to post over here to the Table Talk channel.
Oh, cool. That would be cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna republish them over here on the Table Talk channel because it's story related, and I was trying to come up with my top 10 favorite He-Man episodes, and so that's a series. But do you remember? It was an episode called "The She-Demon of Phantos," and this was you probably don't remember the title, but this was an earlier episode, and it had scenes in it that stuck in my mind as a kid, ever since I was a kid. And and the scene was that He-Man is up on this tower with this sorceress woman, with red hair, and he's bending bars for her. It's this weird thing to remember too, because I just remember the scene where they're up on the tower alone together, and you see them, and He-Man's got this big like I-beam, and he bends it for her and kind of flexes, and she smiles, and then she uses her magic and she binds him up in chains, and He-Man is bound up in chains, and then he flexes and pops off all of the chains and smiles back at her. And I remember that and I was like, but I didn't remember that whole episode. But then when I got when I saw it on Netflix, it was like, oh my God, this was years ago. I'm going to rewatch He-Man. It was like episode number 3. It was one of these early He-Man episodes where Skeletor is taking over basically their mineral mining deposits that the supply of the Eternian war effort that come from their moon, and the queen sorceress who runs the moon, and Skeletor hexes her to put like an aging spell on her. I was upset because James Eatock did a commentary on that, and this is one of his least favorite episodes, and he talked about other things like he didn't do, I think, a very good job commentating that episode. But I was like, that's one of my favorite episodes. He-Man smashes things. Skeletor's, casting spells and putting charms and aging spells on this woman. And yes, there was this weird like BDSM element that they put in.
I've got to see this episode.
Where it implies that sometimes He-Man goes up to Phobos to hang out with this sorceress queen, where they he does all kinds of things for her. It's like that but and that's one of those things that I remember from a kid.
Oh my goodness. It's been a while since I've seen this, because I'd probably remember something like that, but wow.
I loved that. It had a very old school feel, like old school Dungeons and Dragons, old school fantasy, very kind of invoking Conan. I thought it was some of the best of the early kinds of.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Hang on, I wonder if I can find it.
Yeah, that first season, Skeletor was always coming up with some sort of really good plan. He had a lot of power.
Of course, we can't show the episode here, but I can. I'm gonna. Let me just put this up. I'm gonna scrub through it and find that. So this is the She-Demon of Phantos. It's on the official He-Man website. Oh yeah, this one is also it's got the only appearance of this Strong Arm in it.
Okay.
Oh, right here. Okay, so like she's thinking about yeah. So okay, so here is this scene.
Okay. That's what she's imagining this?
No, she's remembering it.
Oh.
but that's also a difficult one to find.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. Look at her. I mean, this was great stuff. This was great stuff. Well, I forget where I was going with that, but but that was also a difficult thing because I remembered that for years. Like I said, this He-Man getting tied up with the chains and stuff like that. But it's very difficult. There was an episode. Do you remember an episode where He-Man is on a tower and bends a bar? Okay, well that one's like that's like everything that happens. Like you can't really identify a single episode. Sable for $10 says there are so many subconscious themes here. The big, powerful, muscly man is willingly subjected to the wiles of a woman, but in a playful way. Exactly. They both know she could render him powerless, but doesn't take it all the way because she's using it to encourage him to turn that vast physical strength outward and defeat the evil from the outside. Well, but also that, I mean, you could also interpret that the other way, that, is she really going to be able to do anything to He-Man? No, but she's tying him up, in this playful way and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a funny thing to be in a kid's cartoon.
Yeah.
But well, it made an impression on me. So,
it's making me an impression on me right now. I'm like, wow, what's going on? I gotta rewatch that one. Yeah, there's so many that are really cool episodes that come to mind, and definitely I'm not sure if I even have a favorite because I do love them. I do love them all.
I forget which one
from what I
ended up
remembered.
ranking is number one. Now, of course, the everybody talks about the one where the problem with power. Now that was a later episode, the problem with power, which is an exception to the idea that the later episodes we thought were not as good. The problem with power, that was the one, and that I never actually saw that as a kid. That's one that I never saw as a kid, but everybody talked about it, so I saw it when I was watching this. That's the one where He-Man thinks he's killed someone. Whoop! I think we lost Retro. She'll come back. I'll give her a few moments. In fact, let me go over here to Twitter and text her. But I'm sure. Oh, there she goes.
Sorry about that.
But so in this one, He-Man thinks that he killed someone.
Yeah.
And as a result, Prince Adam gives up the power sword because he thinks he's not worthy of being He-Man anymore because he killed someone.
Oh. It's that I don't remember that one. I have to go back. You're making me think, oh my goodness, I have to revisit all of these episodes again. That's a good premise.
Is worth watching. Because actually Skeletor fakes him out. Skeletor sets up a trap to make He-Man think he killed someone in the process of something. You see, he uses goblins. They establish early in the episode that goblins don't have a heartbeat, and then Skeletor uses his magic to disguise this goblin as a villager, and then when like rocks fall down, this villager's trapped under it, and He-Man goes over, and there's no heartbeat, and he thinks the guy's dead. That was a fantastic episode. Sable says it's the yin yang balancing and building on each other. Right, that's what you were seeing with them there. Oh, BGD says. Retro, you have done an analysis of a number of cult 80s movies, roughly contemporary with He-Man Motu, from a hit mainstream dramas like Footloose to schlock horror B movies like Life Force.
Oh, yeah.
Is it your process different between these categories of film when you prepare to do your breakdowns?
No. Well, it depends on, because I usually approach it with I think I go more into the characters because I've been noticing that sometimes you need really good characters, and sometimes some stories work without character development, which is weird. I never really realized that until recently, and I just try to look. I have a set list of things I look at that seem to matter to me about films, and so I go at it from those aspects. So I go from the pacing. The pacing is very big for me because if the pacing is not right, it could really make me not like something as much. I go for the challenge in the story. and the empathy that I have for the characters in the story, technical aspects, um, what other just the story creation as well, and the story how the story makes me feel just in general, and then also sort of how much did I enjoy this? Did I really enjoy it? So that has a lot to do with it, because I mean you could watch a movie that's really really good and you don't really enjoy it. That happens sometimes. So yeah, those are my criteria. I think those are like seven different things there.
Well, let's talk specifically, because we got to make sure we do him justice. So
Oh
let's
yeah.
talk specifically about how fantastic Franklin Gala and Skeletor is.
Yes. Amazing.
'Cause this is hands down the best part of the movie.
Oh yeah. 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 Absolutely. He's wonderful. I mean, I've always really loved his work. A movie that really sold me on him as an actor was one that was done in 1979, Dracula. I'm really 79 or 78, and there is something going on with his voice and his eyes that are very that feels very intimate whenever he does a role. And so with this particular part, Skeletor was already amazing in the cartoons. I mean, he was wonderfully voiced, and they drew him in a certain way where he was the exact opposite of He-Man, and the evil man without a face, without a face. So putting Langella in this kind of situation just seemed at first I was like, okay, so how are they going to pull it off? It was his voice, really. He did a lot of work with his voice, and just I felt like the character was really modeled after Richard III. There were a few lines from Richard III that was actually used in this movie as well. And so and which makes sense because he doesn't have a face. So if there were any, which it would have been really good to get even more of that, more story about this character who's basically a monster. But he plays it in such a way that you understand, like, he is someone who now only is after power. He's after power, and I believe it when it's coming from this version of Skeletor. He's cruel. He's very cruel. He doesn't give any of his henchmen a chance to redeem themselves. He starts, killing off henchmen if they don't get things right. He's not satisfied very easily. There's a moment where Evelyn is like, "Oh, excellent, we have this." He's like, "No, no, no, show me." And
You're too easily pleased.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, "Wow, he's really a tough boss."
Like we joked about this as a kid too. That like he says, "Show me," and you go screaming across the galaxy on the on the screen to the planet down to and it zeroes in on like what part of the building, like that gym, where
Yes.
it's like half of a building, and Skeletor turns around, close enough. He doesn't give an inch. Now, this
Yes.
movie didn't live up to Skeletor, and that's the shame.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I really think that if this movie had been everything that it could have been, that this depiction of Skeletor would be up there on the great science fiction and fantasy villains of all times. I think he would be up there with Darth Vader.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. I agree.
And unfortunately, the rest of the movie didn't. Frank was too good for it. Right? I mean, they didn't live up. The rest of the movie didn't live up to Frank's performance, because and this whole idea of Shakespearean Skeletor, because it is so different from the cartoon,
Yes.
but you're doing a Shakespearean Skeletor. It completely works. he does it masterfully. And I know James is saying that, yeah, this is like his favorite role. And I completely understand it. I mean, who
Yes.
wouldn't want to play this role? I mean, this would have been incredible. Shakespearean Skeletor. I mean, in some sense, you're doing a character that, like you're saying, is a classic villain archetype trope, almost the point of being overdone. This guy is just after power megalomania. We don't have backstory. Yeah. We don't have any of that. We just this guy is the villain, and he is evil. And I think Frank has done it best.
Yes, he did the best he could with what he had to work with, and gave even more than what we probably expected from what they had. But I think you're absolutely nailing it when you say that the potential is there, and so it was a shame that they did not get this right. And there's opportunity to do something in the future with some other manner, but to tell this story in in only a few in an hour and a half, I'm not sure. I think the focus was in the wrong place. It's on Earth. And so they gave all of the Earthlings all of the backstory, all of the empathy, all of that stuff, and but the Eternians just ended up empty-handed at the end of the day. So that's the sad part. That's that really truly sad part.
I said it had been a while since I'd watched the movie all the way through, but what I have watched and do watch reasonably regularly is that there's a cut on YouTube that is just Skeletor scenes. So,
yes.
So I watch that, and if you watch just that cut, like just the Skeletor scenes, I think that's what it's called. The YouTube video is called. And if you just watch that, you would think, "Oh my God, this must have been a fantastic movie." Like, I cannot wait to see this. This must have been incredible. Because if you just watch Frank Langella as Skeletor, it blows you away. And I mean, he's so archetypical, so powerful, like a Lucifer-like character. That like a fallen Lucifer, like that's the kind of vibes he gives to me, and it's an inspiration for my Lucifer character because of that. Like,
really?
He comes in, flanked, and he's hitting his staff down. He means business. I mean, everything about that. When you open on Skeletor, he didn't get to fight. They just we're gonna have to fight to take over Grayskull. We just open it, but it's a very powerful opening. I mean, they got all of that and establish his character.
Oh, I was smiling ear to ear in the theater when I saw Skeletor walk in the room. I was like, yes! I was really excited and happy about this. So no, absolutely. I enjoyed it all, for all the stuff with Skeletor. And if anything, and even the costuming was pretty good. I felt like maybe I'm not sure about the makeup that they used for this his face so much, if there was anything I could critique, but that's the best way you could probably come up with it in 1987. I'm just not sure, but I hope that if this is ever attempted again, they actually do try to make it look more like a skeletal face,
Yeah. Well, it would be like a CGI abomination thing. Today. But, go ahead.
Well, if you look at some cosplay, there are some people who've been able to do some pretty good cosplay of Skeletor, and I'm like, well, if these guys can do it, I mean, surely a movie could do it. But I know what you're saying, and somebody could actually, make a crucial mistake and just do the whole thing in CGI, which would suck.
I would do a Skeletor cosplay. I'm not a cosplayer, but there are a few things that you're like, oh, what would you do? a He-Man, Masters of the Universe movie Skeletor would be one of them. That
would be actually kind of cool. Yeah.
The Joker would be one, and then we talked about the Star Trek maroon uniform. So there are a few of them out there that would be fun. Try to do a do one of Skeletor's monologues in Skeletor makeup, and
Oh yeah.
it was interesting that he was gonna have to act with all of the makeup on, all
Yes.
the prosthetics and stuff. And you're right, and this is stuff that he's gonna have to be able to talk in, and so yeah, whatever. So maybe that could be improved today. But they gave him his eyes.
Yeah, I thought that was so weird.
It is a bit weird,
Yeah.
but I think that probably helps out. And I was wondering if you're the actor, of course, he's already covered up, but you got the whole covered up face that you're having to act through, which he did. But then if they also take your eyes from you,
Yeah.
that
Well, yeah.
would make it more difficult too.
And you're right. And see, here's the problem, because Frank Langella's eyes in particular are very extraordinary acting devices. And so you don't want to remove his eyes if anybody else's. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that might have been also kind of unsatisfaction factory for him as an actor to have that covered up. So yeah, you're right. That's the trickery. Like, do you lose the eyes, or do you keep them for the effect that they could have on the audience? And that's one of the reasons why I don't mind it so much.
Well, that's why I don't mind it either. Go ahead and
Yeah.
give him his eyes for the acting, and everything else comes along so well anyway. Yeah, let him keep his eyes for the acting. I don't know how
Yeah.
you would cover that up. Like, I mean, guess maybe like black netting or something, so it might not have even looked good if you were trying to make this, on screen. But I've wondered, just for the sake of it, if somebody took one of his monologues or one of his scenes or whatever, and just used some CGI, some of the
Yes,
and
I
just
agree.
blacked out his eyes,
And just
and then
show us what that looked like.
yeah, what would that look like?
Yeah.
And then you could do a YouTube comparison, just like here he is with the eyes, and here he is with that, just to see what he would have looked like.
Oh my God! Somebody please do that out there. Please do it. I want to see it.
What is Masters of the Universe today would have to use the same special effect they used on Spider-Man's eyes.
Oh, you mean okay, I see what you mean, like the CGI.
Or do you mean like his mask? Oh, make the bones a little elastic.
Mm.
Yeah,
They could do it. They could do it. There's so many ways. I think maybe you could do it. You could do practical and use small amounts of digital assistance to help sell it. Um, and I think what he means is that, how Spider-Man's eyes kind of go up, it has expression, that they can use that to define the blackened parts out. And so, I mean, there are so many things and so many ways they could do it. As long as they don't make the entire thing CGI, I think it would be, it unless it looks really incredibly good. I mean, that's also another thing. If it looks really, really good, why not try it? But I think that a mixture of the two, practical and digital, might work, because I rather like digital work when it's accompanied by something practical.
Like they did so that was exactly what PH was talking about.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Like that guy who did what the Terminator's red eye would look like if it actually tracked.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the kind of thing I was thinking about with Skeletor. What would Skeletor have looked like if his
yeah.
eyes had been blacked out and removed? I don't know. Maybe we'd like it. Maybe we wouldn't. I don't know. But it would be neat to look at. Just see.
Yeah. I mean, they did so many things, like, because they even gave him fangs.
They gave him fangs. Yeah.
Yeah, which is it's like, they're taking a lot of licenses with this character, because he did, he looked a lot different, and so I just let it be. I did not get too wrapped up about it, because I think with a lesser actor, I would have been distracted too much. But if with him, I'm like, yeah, okay, I see why you had to do it. So it works. It works in a weird way, but it there was still a missed opportunity, I think, uh, just in general for the story, the entire story. And there is a story there. It just isn't a great story that actually feels like something connected to the cartoon. Um, just feels disjointed from it.
It strikes me as it's a story that doesn't invoke a whole lot of feel of He-Man or Attorney or anything like that. It strikes
Yeah.
me, especially on this last watch through, as a rather generic 80s story that you could rerun basically this idea of a a portal through space to have the weird fantasy people interact with human teenagers as they're running around the school gymnasium with a lot of different franchises. I mean, you
Yeah,
could do that with a lot of different fantasy franchises and basically
absolutely.
the same
I
thing.
mean, Terminator, Halloween, all of them. Yeah, it's really like yeah, generic, very generic. But also, I mean, I did love the little story about the girl and her parents. That I thought that was really cool, and the callback that they actually called back to it at the end. It wasn't like a useless bit of information, but it is also not necessary. I don't think we needed it in the story, but
I Evelyn uses it to get the
yes,
key. So I
really
do like
nice.
that scene. I mean, I'm completely with Robert here that we shouldn't be there. But that scene where she runs out and of course Evelyn reveals herself too early. You know, she shouldn't have revealed herself. That's classic movie villain mistake. Another
Yeah,
trope that this movie has got in it that, but that was pretty powerful that when
yes.
you think your mother is there and to be that emotionally manipulative, for Evelyn to
Yeah.
be that emotionally
Oh,
manipulative.
she's great, and I wanted more of that. I wanted more of that. But yeah, that was a great moment. There was actually a couple other like action movie moments that I thought were really good. Like I believe it was like close to the first scene or like a second scene when they're in Eternia and about to go to Earth. The doors open up. They go into the portal, but they left the key. And Skeletor's like, get the key, and they're so close to getting the key, but out of the void comes this grappling grabber thing, and grabs the key, and I was like, yes, it's one of those moments where that was beautifully crafted. This little surprise moment of shock and kind of brought the tension up, but also delivers in a very interesting way. So yeah, there were moments, action movie moments, if you will, that really satisfies you for a few minutes.
Another classic action movie thing or movie trope is that nobody looks outside. We like that even as a kid when Skeletor's army is marching down the suburb street. They do a lot of
Yes.
things and like flying around, evil lens
Oh,
flying around and landing and going into houses and things like that. And apparently nobody is driving by. Nobody
yeah.
goes, what's that noise? Like, none of the neighbors are like, what is going on next door? And like looking out the window and like, what is that in the street? Like, that's nobody does anything like that in this
Yes,
movie.
there's like a levitating barrage of technology walking down, going down the street. What is happening?
And no,
They're troops. They're in all black. Are we being invaded? It's so funny. And even the police officers don't believe Lubick, even after seeing all of the destruction that has been caused. So yeah, it's really it does kind of asks you to have some disbelief and or settle your disbelief in a lot of these scenes. And of course, the budget has a lot to do with it because they couldn't afford to get any bigger with this
they
idea.
use Lubick comedically and a few places like that, and with that standard trope about that he's got all these guys. Well, that guy, first of all, he goes and tries to shoot him with the shotgun, and then, oh my God, I'm gonna need some backup.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna need some backup. And then the police don't believe him. Well, where's the army, Lubick? Where's the army? It's like a lot of people should be seeing this army walk down the street.
Well, not only that, even if you don't believe there's an army, there's somebody, because we got the school that got shot up and we've got a record store that got messed up. So obviously there's some stuff going on, and no other stores or people are picking this up. No one is on the street to see any of this. It's very, very interesting, to say the least.
Well, so it's a major part of my childhood. It's a major part of my childhood.
Yeah.
But so, is there anything else on it that we need to say, or anything we need to discuss, or in this movie, or related areas?
One thing I have to say about the movie is also the music. I did enjoy the music so much. It really sets up that, the hero feeling, the heroic feeling throughout the story, and without it, we're really gonna, looking at a huge B movie that doesn't have any appeal at all, except for maybe Frank Langella and a few other things. But it's really, that music really helps to help raise the quality of the movie, if you will.
I agree with that. When I was watching it and the opening music hits for the opening credits, that was one of those things that goes back to the past, to my past. Like some of the music we talked about with Star Trek movies. It's like, oh yeah, as soon as I hear that, man, I'm right back. No, as soon as I heard the opening march for this, it took me back to it. I was like, oh yeah, this is the music. I remember this.
Yeah,
we're going into hero mode right here. And I do like that opening, the prologue.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That's a good setup. That's a good setup. So actually, if you keep that prologue and then Skeletor, you've got something. Now, for some reason, Castle Grayskull looks like it's got a whole bunch of TV antennas all over it. So the redesign of Castle Grayskull. See, I also think I probably would have kept Castle Grayskull a bit more traditional.
Yes.
Looking for, but still, that opening monologue, the music leading into that, you feel like you're going someplace.
Yes, you do. I mean, I think it did bridge the gap in many ways, between the movie and the show, but unfortunately, it did. Again, it would have been cool if some of the repeated costuming had shown up, and that was what was really kind of the key element. Even if you did have the same story, if you had some of the repeated costuming from the TV show, that might have helped connect the dots a little bit more for people.
Sable did say, and I meant to mention something like this earlier. We're talking about people not noticing other army watching other stream stuff. It's almost as if the whole thing is a dream, and it is. So from the teenager's perspective, it could almost be that way, and they come very, very close to also pulling that trope. They don't. That's a subversion of the trope, I suppose, like James would say, so it's present, because they at the very end do run up and they think it's a dream.
Yes.
Yeah. So they engage with that idea that this was all a dream anyway, but they invert it right there at the last moment because the sorceress has given them that orb. But no, we were there.
Yeah.
This movie also comes dangerously close to having the teenagers dream He-Man. It does come dangerously close to that.
Yeah, it does. And also, like, now they've created another timeline, or did the events never happen? Did they truly alter the past, or are they did they create another timeline? Has always been my thing. It's like, oh, what's going on there? That's just, I guess, a nerdy little thing that I think. But what are we talking about here? Is this
It's a sweet fairy tale ending for that, for her to get her parents back. But but also the idea that means the cosmic key is already pretty powerful, that it can basically send you anywhere in the galaxy, or
or time.
multiple galaxies.
Yeah,
But
or
then
time.
they drop in right there at the end that can also send you through time, which
Yeah.
is a big bomb to drop right there at the end that nobody thought to use. Oh, then we should at least, when we return to return to Eternia, let's go back in time to stop Skeletor from taking the castle. Or we'll go back to when Evelyn showed up to get the cosmic key and just prevent
Exactly.
Evelyn, tell you that, oh yeah, don't trust this woman. So that is something that's a big bomb to drop at the end, which
Yeah.
is weird to give He-Man at the end. Now, there was no further movies and stuff, but to all of a sudden drop in, oh yeah, by the way, they have the power to travel through time too. It's yeah, and it's used as that
I love that that's in there because what a memorable moment. Sometimes with some of the movies that are sort of guilty pleasures, this kind of concept makes me laugh. It tickles me because it's so it's tropey, and it's also a cop out for a lot of writers to kind of have this happy ending, where the studios used to mandate that you have a happy ending for stuff, and so this is kind of one of those things where they came up with this malarkey, but it is okay. I did enjoy. I did enjoy it quite a bit. It makes me laugh a little bit.
I wish, people wish Bildor was a dream. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was used. Comically throughout the whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
how did he soups up their car? Oh, we didn't mention the car. They've
Oh,
got the
yeah.
souped up car that he soups up for them. Somehow he's got like Eternian technology in it, so the heroes are driving around in a car.
Yeah, I thought that, but that wasn't set up enough because I think he mentions it for a second, and then it boof, we're off to like seeing the car like whiz down the street with like this rocket in the back, and I'm like, what the heck? And so yeah, that could have used a little bit more. And another little detail that I think is very interesting is the fact that when they all go to Eternia close to the end, and they win the battle. They must stay there for a long time, enough for Lubick to actually get a girlfriend.
Yeah. Where is that? He got busy, right? like, where did she come from? Yes, he's wearing like this Roman toga thing. He's like completely integrated into the society. He's got this girlfriend who's got the classic like 80s hair, like with that's got all kinds of like hairspray and mousse in it, and she just kind of smiles at him. Yeah, that's also tropey. That okay, you got the person who decides I'm going to stay, so that fits that. Then do you want to go back to but that's kind of a weird question anyway. Gwen, are you sure you don't want to go back to someplace a different time? And what are you expecting the teenage girl to say, whatever her name was? Courtney Cox's character, Julie, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, really? You can do that? Oh, yeah. Actually, yes. I'd kind of like to see the dinosaurs. Oh, yeah. Could you please send us to live, in the Jurassic period? Like, of course not. But yeah, there was another trope. Oh, another trope that's in this classic action movie kinds of things is just the existence of the bottomless pits right next to the throne.
Yes. Why would you put that there?
Right. At least in Return of the Jedi. I mean, we made fun of that as a kid too. At least in Return of the Jedi, there are guardrails around the bottomless pits, and you have to actually, Darth Vader had to actually pick the Emperor up and throw him over the guardrails. But the guardrails were there, but there were even no guardrails on the bottomless pits here in.
You could easily slide into that pit, and it's like there is like even like a little walkway over it, right, from like a narrow one from the throne itself. So I don't know. This poor old lady has got to climb up that ramp to get to her chair every day.
Well, the sorceress has got to think about that. That like I really got to make sure that my dress, isn't too long. I want to be sure that's well, tailored because I can't trip. as I'm going up.
Yeah, we'll see if she was, she was part bird, like she would be able to turn into a bird and fly away. But
Unfortunately, turning into a crystal won't help you when you're
yeah,
when you're falling down. Yes.
yeah, that it's a lot of fun. I do love this movie for the fun. Another movie that's it kind of reminds me of, and it is a Batman. I'm sorry, Batman and Robin. That's another movie that's a guilty pleasure
Oh,
for all of the malarkey in that film. And I have a lot of fun watching it. It just so much fun. And look, and so this is a movie, we can say for sure. I mean, I watch it for the fun of it. I watch this movie for the fun of it. So
well,
and
sometimes we all
I
need
do love
movies
it.
like this. And like I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
there's such a connection to my childhood with this one.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
but I wonder what other people think. It's it's they didn't want He-Man to kill people.
Yes.
That was a controversy between the like Mattel and
Yeah.
the
They didn't
studio.
want him to kill people, so they had the robots and which it's fine. You don't have to. He doesn't have to kill anyone,
Well,
but
He-Man uses a gun in this. I mean, he's got his rifle, he's got his pistol. I mean, he shoots people in this, which obviously
yeah,
you're not used to seeing.
yeah.
Um,
But those guys are all the censure. No, they are all robots. I think the guys in
well,
black, they're all
I
robots.
guess they were supposed to be. Yeah, I guess they were
Yeah,
supposed to be. The
which is
flying disc. They had the Air Centurions on the flying discs.
yes,
Disc and
yes, yes.
He-Man got on the with some bad special effects with
Yeah,
He-Man flying
yeah.
on that. That did not hold up. But I
That
do
did
remember
not
like, oh,
hold
we got
up.
a new
Yeah.
hit. Like I wanted to see like one of the Wind Raider or but so we got the flying disc thing, and I was like, oh, okay, flying disc.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, and I wonder why they couldn't have used more elements from the show. And I wonder if it was part of like a contract situation, which would make sense. That if they because they didn't use it didn't seem as if they used one design from the show, and I wonder if there is a reason why contract wise that they didn't do that. So
There is She-Ra was supposed to be in it. I originally when they were doing
oh
concept art, they did put together a lot of they did put a lot of people in it. They did concept art for a bunch of people, including She-Ra, because the She-Ra show was coming, and so of course
oh yeah
the toy company wanted everything want to be there, and so
oh
there is a concept art of what she was going to look like. Um, and then somebody cosplayed her. Hang on, let me find that. Took the concept art and did an
yeah
amazing cosplay of what She-Ra was going to look like in
oh
this
cool
movie. She-Ra live action cosplay. Stout, maybe, because the Stout was that. I don't. Oh wait, I may have gotten it. Yes. Okay. So this right here, let me share right here. Look, that is what is the concept art for what
oh
She-Ra.
wow that's incredible
Also very 80s, kind of look
yeah
to it. But She-Ra in fantasy 1980s. So this was
dang
made up. And so this person, I've seen multiple pictures of her.
wow 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 wow
Wait. Where'd her picture go? Well, but okay, I guess you can kind of see it right here.
yeah
So she did, like, you can find it on Instagram and places like that too. So somebody took that and made this really awesome what could have been She-Ra cosplay.
that is cool yeah she's killing it
Yeah.
cosplayers like they can do anything. That's why it's so surprising though how Hollywood doesn't use some of the stuff that, it's like, wait a minute, the cosplayers are doing it just fine. Why can't you do it? Oh, nice.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, she killed it. Look at that.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, she crushed it with this
Mhm.
this cosplay. That
Very
would have been
nice.
a thing to see on screen. That would have been a thing. We're talking about what this movie is. She that would have well, Skeletor I still think would have dominated it. But that would have been weird to see everything else in this movie and then see like She-Ra burst out from someplace and go into battle dressed like that. Like that would have been something different.
Yes, that would have been. Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Oh,
She-Ra looks fantastic.
so Sable says, thank you, Sable says, this is just to bring Retro Nerd Girl in as a regular
You're
guest.
so
Everybody
sweet.
loves Retro Nerd Girl. Everybody loves
Thank you. Sable. You're so kind.
all right. Well, so is there anything else now? Did that hit everything that we were supposed to?
I think so. I did write some things down, but I think we covered everything. I did notice. I did write down a couple of things. Etonians don't eat meat.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I meant to bring that up too. That. I think even as a kid, I thought that was weird. Tila doesn't understand meat or rib bones.
Yeah. I was just like, okay.
So yeah, what do they eat? Do they all eat? Are they all vegan, or and like because you do see them in the cartoons, you do see them like eating big drumsticks. That's also a classic. What if you're gonna something?
Yeah.
You're always eating a big drumstick. So that was a joke that was unnecessary. Like you're right, you mentioned that in your commentary. So everybody go watch Retro Nerd Girl's commentary on it when but yeah, some jokes that could be left out. That's around the time. Well, we got the cow, but okay, so I guess there are no cows on Eternia either. And then we go to the fast food joint with the ribs.
Yeah.
And they do spend a little bit of time setting up this joke that's basically Tila doesn't know what meat is.
Yeah, but Man at Arms has had it. And he's
But
like, oh, you gotta eat what you gotta eat sometimes. It's very unique. Very unique.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. In fact, that's one of those things. It a throwaway line that in Star Trek that's like, oh yeah, we don't use money or something. Here's like the equivalent of like, okay, now wait a minute. You can tell somebody would get real serious about that if we had continued. So we've got it established as in canon now that they don't eat animals and they don't eat meat. The idea that this would be an animal is just far weird.
Another thing is that they had a special greeting, and they were like, good journey.
Good journey.
Good journey. I was like, where did that come from? So they were I think they were trying to work on, whoever was actually writing this was actually trying to work on bigger ideas, but I mean, or trying to fill out the world a little bit more.
An attempt at world building, both.
Yeah, they were trying to, and not only that, it was already done in the show, and all you had to do was copy. So there is an attempt to be creative here, which I do respect quite a bit. So
they do. All right, everybody split up, because when they're looking for that, right above that, everybody split up. You get, go this way. They're like, okay, they get out their clocks, or they synchronize their clock, and then they all run off in different directions. But they all, in the next scene, they all are right there together again, all except for He-Man, who is apparently he's running into like some suburban area. Like I was wondering about that too. That, okay, first of all, they're supposed to spread out, but yet everybody but He-Man ends up at the rib shop.
Yeah.
But they're not really being all that systematic about looking for this key. It's like, all right, just everybody take off in a different direction and see if you happen to, like, how far away do you think this key could be? Now, I guess it could be pretty far away because it was, but like, what do you do?
Yeah, that part I think could have been tweaked a little, because it doesn't kind of make sense. How they end up putting everybody in. I think the next time you see him, he's in some alleyway with some boxes. That
right.
in a gated area, though. It's a gated area, so how did he get in there?
Well, I think the next time that you see He-Man, it's the classic. He's running someplace by with the gated area and all that. And he hears her, "Help me, help me!" And it's like classic. Oh, He-Man's like somebody, especially a girl. Oh, we got some girl yelling for help here. He-Man's gonna have to go, instantly to wherever she's, like, oh,
Well, the best thing is that she says, "Oh, some people are chasing me," and he's like, "Okay, I'll take care of it." He picks her up. He picks her up and takes her over to some boxes. I'm like, that's like you can't do that. You can't. He would definitely get in trouble these days if he did something like that.
Well,
But he literally picks her up, and then it's just kind of weird. I'm like, that's not how people usually behave.
the people who have a bad day in this, you do have Carl at the gymnasium.
Oh,
Uh,
oh no, Carl is the one who has the record shop.
wait.
But I know
No,
who you're
Charlie.
talking about.
Charlie has
Charlie.
yeah. But they,
Carl, yes.
Carl,
Yeah.
don't let anybody in unless it's Carl. And Carl was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and then they wheel him out on the stretcher, like when he shows up and he's bandaged in the classic way to bandage somebody on a stretcher.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's sorry. Beast Man took care of him,
And they were like, "What happened? What happened?" He goes, "You never want to know." Like, that's not how you answered that question. Somebody's life could be in danger. You don't want to answer the question like that. There were some moments, like that, like what we're calling out, like ridiculous moments that I think, the script. It just not knowing how normal people act or behave or respond. That's so very important to a good story. Is like, how do normal people respond? At least give us that.
I was going to say, with a transformation, it would be so much fun. It'd be expensive, but it would be so much fun to do a fan He-Man transformation scene. Like, try to do it right. I would like to see you just do the few seconds before and a few seconds after the transformation. Just do a transformation. I would do it. I would take a really scrawny, like 10-year-old boy.
Okay.
And because in order to immediately juxtapose that, Prince Adam and He-Man don't actually look that different.
Yeah.
Never mind that nobody can figure it out, but they really don't look all that different. But what I think I would do if I were to let's just do a fan transformation. Let's try to make this just epic as it can be. I think I would have like a really scrawny 10-year-old boy. Like, look out the window, dressed as Prince Adam, dress him in the pink, and everything's like Prince, and he looks out the window and what Skeletor is attacking or whatever, and have him just have a kitten like that is Cringer,
yeah,
green kitten, and then but the green kitten can talk and like run under the bed or something like that, and then go through just this epic transformation sequence.
Oh, that would be nice.
Where you take this 10-year-old boy to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
and then have him blast the kitten and have him go from the frightened little kitten, of course, and then just do this just terrifying, like, saber-toothed tiger thing that he rides, and then go. That would be so much fun.
Oh, that would be really cool. I would love to see something like that. They should, really consider that. I mean, I do love the story of just, Adam and He-Man looking a lot alike. And I think with the Kevin Smith version, they did try to address that by having Adam and He-Man look a lot different, which was kind of cool. I mean, I prefer at least Adam to look like to seem as if he's competent without being He-Man, and so this was one of those things where I don't know how do you feel about this Kevin Smith's version that came out. Was it last year?
It may have been a little bit longer ago than that.
Like 2021, I think.
Yeah, I didn't think it was great. I was not nearly. I wasn't as down on it as a lot of people. I mean, there are people. There are people who are very, very down.
Yes.
Who are very, very down on it. So I was not as down on it as all of that, but I didn't think that it was all of that great on the whole. Especially to have I actually spent a lot of time talking about making things look like they were supposed to look. He did a lot of things right as far as making things look like they were supposed to look, even to the point of scanning the toys. So
yes,
so that was
I like that.
But then we didn't get. I didn't get it. We didn't get a great story. I didn't. I didn't think it was all that great. I remember that was actually when I discovered a whole bunch of YouTubers because I knew that this movie that TV show was coming out, and my first response was, well, I don't remember what my first response was. My first response probably would have been, "Oh no," but maybe it was, "Oh yes." Maybe it was like, "Oh really? There's gonna be a new He-Man." Maybe that was the first response, and then just because of the era that we're in, my second response was probably, "Oh no," like that could go badly. And I just made I was sitting here working a lot here in the office at the time, well, which I do anyway. But and I remember I was like, okay, now how am I going to watch this show? And I was like, I either am not going to listen to any spoilers or any commentary or any rumors or anything like that. Everybody was talking about it, and I'm just going to watch it cold. I'm just going to watch. And so that was one way that I could do it. But I decided, no, I'm sitting here in the office. Everybody's talking about it on YouTube. Everybody's talking about all the rumors, all of this. And so I decided to just go in deep on all the rumors and whoever was talking about stuff and on YouTube I was watching at the time. I think that it was hurt by dividing it and putting it not all out at once. I think they should have. They could have released it week to week.
You're absolutely right.
Or put it all out, because leaving it at that halfway point, I bet very few people I think came back for the second half.
Very
few people came back for the second half, and there were there were also bad parts in the second half. There were some better parts in the second half, but probably you should have watched them all together, I think.
I agree on that part. I mean, I actually liked it more than I thought I was gonna like it. And I see the potential of where it really could have been a better story. There was a lot of like repeating of the same themes over and over and over again. And I felt like, whoa, we didn't have to go through this again. So there were sort of like many plot points that just we kept running around with. Not that I mind the plot points, it just was too repetitive. And I loved a lot of it. I found myself really loving a lot of it. The visuals, like we were talking about before, were incredible. I love the way they made He-Man look. I just wanted more of him. I love the story plot with Evelyn. That was juicy. I wasn't so thrilled with the Tila storyline at all. Just didn't really do it for me. And it kept going on and on and on and on and on. But I did find the end of it kind of like way over the top. Ultimately, I thought it was okay. It should have been great.
Yeah, well, it should have been great.
It should have been great. But I thought it was okay.
That's another one of those things that should be great. Like you should be able to do that and make it freaking fantastic. But we just have so much trouble with that today. And Sable says, for $10, thank you very much, Sable. Sable says the problem is you can get all the window dressing right down to the minutia and still fail. If you can get the soul of it, the trappings don't matter. If you don't, even getting the skins won't help.
You're so right. And that this is a great example. We have the movie where they didn't get the look or anything down at all. And when we have this episodes on Netflix that didn't seem to have the soul, as you say. And it just was I think the pure problem of it was when um, uh, Kevin Smith did have some things to say about this. He unfortunately he said that he didn't really like uh, this show growing up, and I was like, why? Okay, so for somebody who did love the show, like not just like love the show, why would you have someone work on a show that it wasn't something that they loved? Because that person would be fundamentally always trying to change it into the thing that they wanted it to be, and I think that might have been the issue. And I'm not even sure. Um, I hope he. I don't know. It's kind of weird because I do like Kevin Smith, but this is in this case, I'm not sure if he was right for the part of being the showrunner for this. I would rather for him to work on a project he really loved that played into all of the nostalgia of his childhood, and let somebody else gracefully take up the mantle who did have this incredible love for this franchise. Just kind of breaks my heart a little bit, but I live. I
Right?
live.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I started to go back. I think before this started, I started to go back, and it's been a while. I've not watched them all, but to watch the He-Man from the early 2000s.
Okay, yeah, that's
I,
something I have to do.
yeah, I had not. I had completely skipped. I don't even know that I knew that it existed at the time, so I completely skipped over that. But I had a lot of people say, and a lot of people were at the time saying that that was a very good incarnation of He-Man.
Okay.
Maybe it didn't get all the attention that it should have. I watched a few episodes. I just don't think I had time to finish at the time. But I did watch a few episodes, and it seemed to be going well. So that might
Okay.
be. But
Well,
you're right with the getting someone. There's I'm about 80% on that side. If you get somebody who's loving something, we talked about that with like Star Trek Continues, that this is an illustration of what you can do with something that you really love.
yeah.
There is the one other side. So James is saying that the He-Man from the 2000s is incredible. So,
Oh wow. Okay, I'll
uh,
put that on my list that I need to see it.
but there's a word that I'm missing when it's because you can have something like when Meyer came in to direct Star Trek 2 or to create Star Trek 2, and he said, okay, he did not know, like he did not come in as a major Star Trek fan, and in fact, many times during the commentary, he would say the director's commentary
Mm.
that I thought, I could come in and I could tell this story without being shackled by everything that had come before and what it was supposed, what people thought it would be, and I was there. And that sometimes, other times, like even on Star Trek 6, sometimes then they would run it by people who knew a lot more of the details about Star Trek. Oh, well, this needs to be this way, or there's this detail that's missing, or something like that.
Yes.
But there's still an attitude that I'm short of the word for. Maybe the comments will know
Mhm.
that that articulates the attitude that Nicholas Meyer has for Star Trek, even though he may not have been, the biggest Star Trek fan, he still has tremendous respect for it.
Yes.
But you can't not know anything about it. So there is this window for people like that to come in and do something really
Yes.
amazing. So I can't say that, oh, you have to be this amazing fan to be the showrunner,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
there's something that Nicholas Meyer had for Star Trek that Kevin Smith did not have for He-Man. And whatever that
Yeah.
is, I'm missing that word.
Yeah.
That's why it went apart.
That's sad. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's really sad because just I mean you got to read the room a little, especially when it comes to an IP like this. That's at the time it must have been like 39 years old or something like that, and how people there are people whose child, I mean, not saying that it's important for you to get it right because of people's childhoods, but nostalgia is big. He knows that. He referenced all of the things that he references from the 90s that he loves, like all that stuff that means something to him. And so that's what uh you know He-Man really means, and the Masters of the Universe means to a lot of people like you and I. We really care about the way it looks and what it meant to us when we saw it in those old days, and that's why I really do love the visual look of this thing, and then there were some changes that I even enjoyed, but again, story.
Yeah, that was primed the time of the Kevin Smith Netflix
Mm,
He-Man.
yeah,
Remember, another reason why it should have been great in general, but it could have been just massively successful because it was at exactly the right time when everybody who had watched He-Man as a kid
yeah.
now had kids who were the right age to be watching
Oh,
He-Man.
yes,
So,
yes, yes.
like, that was the perfect time to bring that out. Like, so if you were a
Mhm.
guy,
Yeah,
you got sons, and you watched it and they're like, oh my God, a new He-Man's coming out. And so when you're creating that, I gotta do two things. I've got to serve all of the people who watched He-Man as a kid, and this has got to be something that they really love.
mhm,
But you also want them to be able to share it with the next generation. So
yes,
you want to give them something to where, like, yes, we can all now as adults go, hey, all right, man, we're gonna watch this new He-Man. But
yeah,
it's even better if you say, like, oh my God, I can share this with my children or nieces
yeah.
or nephews or whatever. And then you've got all the toy line stuff like that. That could have just been perfect.
I agree 100%. I didn't even think about that. The timing was just perfect, and um, yeah, it was also had been a while. I think also there was the play line had been resurgent had a resurgence, if I'm not mistaken. There were a lot of people online that were doing more content about the toy line.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and
probably.
they had refreshed it or something, and if I'm not mistaken. And it was really a powerful moment. So instead, it went towards a negative, thing, which was a whole bunch of people really going not, I would say, overreacting to the show. I
Well,
know
I
that
think
this
there
is,
was some overreaction.
yeah, yeah. Look, this is one of my favorite IPs, but I would not go around terrorizing people because, showrunners and stuff. There was some really crazy stuff that was happening online, and I think it is one of those things was like the perfect storm of for that franchise.
Robert says, well, if Meyer had said that and the movie stunk, nobody would ever forgive him. No, correct. But my point was, he demonstrates that you can pull it off, that you can bring someone like him on and make fantastic movies.
Yeah, I mean, that mattered to him,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
think
totally.
and I think that's important, and I think also there should be some humble reactions to, like, hey, people are not interested or digging your stuff, like, oh, I did the best I could, I'm really sorry, or sorry you didn't enjoy it. We'll work on things being better, something to that effect. But the response too from that was not very nice to the fans, which was
Well, it was not.
also, yeah,
Uh,
it was also, I was like, huh, that's really, you can't get mad at people for not liking something.
it
um
Even in the lead up to it, even the lead up to the release,
yeah,
I was watching this and going, this is like a masterclass in how not to market your TV show for release, like in your lead up social media material and all of this, and
yeah,
this was like an example of what not to do. So
yeah,
so
it
for
broke my
sure,
heart. Yeah,
yeah, and for sure that colored people's opinions of the show itself by the time
yeah,
it released, and then you had really flubbed the advanced marketing of it on social media in such a bad way.
Yeah, and I don't think it's ever recovered. I think that there are a lot of people that are just never going to ever like any more stuff from him, which I think is, I mean, he's such a sweetheart for other things. It's just in this one, this particular case, he just did not react in a way that should that was encouraging to the fans to watch the show, you know. So, which was sad. Sad. It did break my heart.
Well, all right. Well, I think we should probably wrap this up.
Mhm.
This has been fantastic, but I want to say everybody, we've covered a lot here, so I
Yes.
want to make sure that everybody goes over to Retro's channel, and if you want to
Oh,
watch something
thank
right
you.
now, go over there and watch any of her reviews. But she's got a video specifically on the Masters of the Universe. So Retro Nerd Girl. An
Oh.
early video, she said. An early video.
Yeah, this is one I did 7 years ago, so I hope you're, or 6 or 7 years ago, something. Maybe longer, I don't know.
Sable Phoenix said, that's the problem in the culture as a whole nowadays. The customer is always right in matters of taste, just become the customer's wrong if they don't agree with me. Give
Oh,
me your mea
wow.
culpa.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So do check out Retro Nerd Girl. It's been so fantastic having you here. I'm so glad we got to do a stream like this. It's
Yes.
been long overdue.
Oh, yes, it has been. And yes, I'm such a fan of all your channels, and just you have such great conversations happening over here. Please keep up the great work. It's really matters to people like myself who love this kind of stuff.
All right. Well, yes. And now I know people want more Retro Nerd Girl. So
You guys are so sweet.
absolutely invite you back, and we will continue our conversations. Everybody, check out our channel. Go. If you're not subscribed, you definitely need to be subscribed to her and be on her live streams. She's got shows, and then also when she's live streaming, come and join the live streams. All right.
So sweet.
I'll see everybody tomorrow on the Heath's Geekverse channel for the morning grind. Random number generator. All right. Later, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everybody.